This training video is used to demonstrate the process of uploading player data and volunteer data to Little League's data center. This is a process that's the responsibility of the local league's player agent. It should not be delegated to any other officer within the board of directors. It also should be completed before the second week after the start of the season, but it's also an ongoing process. Anytime that you have player movement or volunteer movement, players moving up or down a division from one team to another, late registrations coming in, players leaving the program. So this is something that needs to be monitored by the player agent throughout the entire season. The first thing that you'll want to do is go to littleleague.org and their website, and under League Officers you'll see a link to the data center. Clicking on that link will take you to the login page. The local league president should set you up with credentials so that you can log in to manage roster data for the league. Again, this is the responsibility of the player agent, should not be delegated to any other officer. Once you've logged into the data center, the main menu here has a message from Little League that changes depending on the time of the year. But you'll scroll down and you should see this link for Manage Registration Data /Rosters or Managers /Coaches. If you do not see this link, please contact your local league president to make sure your permissions are set up within the data center. This is the link that you're going to want to access to upload player data. Clicking on that link takes us to the Manage Rosters screen, and here we have two sections. The top section consists of a bunch of links that are useful for managing rosters. The bottom section contains a bunch of drop-down lists that you can use once you've uploaded data to view the actual rosters for a team. Each of these drop-down lists works as a filter, so you can view a specific team, a specific division, or your entire league. It will also allow you to export the data in the event that you need to do that. Some links that are important up here on the top section. The first link, the upload player /registration data. The upload manager /coach /volunteer data is a similar link, but I highly recommend sticking with the first one, and we'll get into that later on. View upload history, that allows you to view a record of all the uploads that you've done for the current season. It'll show you the successful uploads as well as the failed uploads. The fourth link is the download Little League Baseball roster spreadsheet. This is the link that you'll want to use if you don't already have the Excel template. You'll use this spreadsheet in order to insert all the data and then create the exported file that will eventually be uploaded. I highly recommend only using this spreadsheet. There are two other optional spreadsheets, but this first one, Little League Baseball roster spreadsheet, allows you to combine all the players, all the coaches, all the managers, and all the volunteers into one spreadsheet. It's much easier to manage that data if everything is in one spreadsheet as opposed to three separate spreadsheets. So we'll click on the download of the spreadsheet, and we'll say save. And down here we've got that the upload is completed. Now that we've downloaded the Excel spreadsheet and opened it up, we can see that there are two tabs within the Excel spreadsheet. One is the directions or instructions on how to help you fill it out. The second spreadsheet or tab is the actual input sheet. As we scroll down, we'll find some useful codes that we'll see here. Each division in baseball and softball has a code ID that Little League uses. So each row, every player, every manager, every coach will have a code assigned to it as to what team that they're associated with. So you may toggle back and forth between the codes, or just write down the codes and the specific divisions if your league doesn't have all these divisions. One thing to note about the divisions is with the baseball minors and softball minors is that Little League considers everything in between T-ball and the major division minors. So depending on how your local league is structured, you may have multiple levels of minors. As far as the code goes, when we get to the data input, everything in the minors is considered code 12. But when we get to the team names, we'll give you a little trick on how to separate out the different levels within the minor system. As we scroll down on this template here, we see another section called valid roles. There's a column on the data input sheet where we're going to type in the role of the person that we're entering, whether or not that they're a player, a male player, a female player, coach, manager, or volunteer. So these roles are going to be important as well. In this demo, we're only going to upload some players in the majors, baseball majors and baseball minors division. So you can either click this next button or just click directly on to the data input sheet. And this is the data input sheet. And what we can see here is the division, and if we hover over the division, it's going to give us the list of valid codes. So right now we'll say the majors is 13, so we'll type in a 13. The team name, we will call them the Angels. The role, again, if we hover over a role, it's going to tell us what valid values are here. Make sure that you pay attention. F is not a valid role for a female player. Please enter a G for any female players that you have. So we'll type in the, this will be the manager, and this will be Tom Morrow, and Tom's address, and Tom's city, state, zip code, the country. You can type out United States, USA, US. One of the important things to pay attention to, and we'll show you a trick on this later on, is consistency. Having consistent data is very, very important. Now, because this is a manager, an adult manager, the date of birth is not as important. The data center will use this date of birth column to determine a player's league age. So it's extremely important that it's there for all players. But managers, coaches, and adult volunteers, it's not essential that it's there. We'll leave that blank for this one. An email address we'll put in tom@morrow.com. Again, because this is an adult volunteer that we're working with, the parent first name, parent last name, parent email, and parent phone number are not important for this particular row, this volunteer. Obviously, when we get to player information, that's going to be very important. So we'll type in our next, and this will have a coach, and this will be Bob, 2nd Street, Anytown, US. And remember that for any rostered team in Little League, you can have one manager and a maximum of 2 coaches. So please make sure that you don't enter more than 2 assistant coaches for any single team. Okay, so now we have a manager and 2 coaches for this team. Now we'll begin entering players. The division stays the same. The team name stays the same. We'll have a female player here. And Excel is really handy about seeing information that you've already typed in and kind of using that IntelliSense to help you fill in the information. Now, because this is a player, it's important that we put in the date of birth. So we'll put in Valerie's birthday here. That makes her 12 years old. and we'll put in her parents' email address and parents' first name, last name, and then the parents' email, and then the parents' phone number. And we'll add another player. And for the purposes, for the tip later on, I'm going to spell angels incorrectly here. And again, we need a birthday for Rod because he's a player. And we'll have Rod's parents. And then we'll put in Rod's parents' phone number. And you'll go through this with all of your teams, all of your players, all your managers, all your coaches. Again, it's my recommendation that you keep your entire roster list in one file. Little League does allow you the process of separating out the managers and coaches from the players, but in my opinion, it's going to make it much easier when you do uploads later on if all your data is in one file. So now I'll show you a couple tips within Excel to help manage your data, to make it a little cleaner and easier. And we talked about that consistency of data before to help you out. And the way we do this is within Excel, we use data filtering. So to do this, we'll click on the row 6, which is our header row. And then on the data ribbon, we'll click filter. And what that does is that turns all the columns in the header row into a filter, so we can click on each individual filter, which is the drop down arrow next to it, and we can see the values that are all the unique values that are in that row. In that column. So in the column for role, I have M, G, C, and B at least once, and those are all valid roles. So if you saw an F listed here, then you would know that that's an invalid value for the role, so you'd go through and correct it. For team name, I went ahead and added some other values here, and here's where we can see that I've got the angels and the angles, and that's the typo that we have. So what I'll do is I'll uncheck the select all, only show me the angles, and I'll fix that so that it says angels. And then back up in here, we'll do select all, and now we've got everything listed. For the division code, we can see here that all the values that I've listed here. Another filter that you might want to check is the city, just to make sure that you've got the city correct. If you see this blanks, that means that you have a row that doesn't have a value. So we'll fix that and we'll display the blanks, and I'll see that I've got somebody here who doesn't have the city. So we'll just type that in, and then we'll come back and select all so we can view all the data. So just in case you have any typos on the city name, make sure all your city names are correct. Make sure the states are all correct. You can do it with zip codes if you're familiar with all the zip codes. Make sure that you've got right zip codes. Country, as you can see here, I've got United States spelled out, US and USA. Again, we want consistency, so we're going to change United States and USA to simply US. And so we will do that, and then go back to the filter and select all so we can view all the data again. So this is date of birth. Obviously lots of possible values there, so you wouldn't really check that to see. You might go through, and I've got the blanks, so if you did select all, uncheck that, and showed me the blanks, I might go through here and see these are all the blank date of births, and I just want to make sure that I've got managers and coaches, that I don't have any boys or girls in here that don't have a date of birth. That's just one way to help validate your data for yourself. So going back to the minor divisions and the team names, as you can see, what I've done here is I have single A, double A, triple A team names. So in this particular league, we have a single A Nationals as well as a double A Nationals. Both of those teams are in the minor division, so they get the code 12 for the minor division. Well, if I just name all my minor teams the Nationals, regardless of the level in the minor division, I'm going to end up with 2 managers on the same team, 4 coaches on the same team, and about 24 players on the same team. And so that's why it's important to make sure that we have different team names even within the minor division. And the preferred way to do that is, because it's alphabetical, if your structure of your local league has single A, double A, triple A for the minor division, start with the level of play followed by the team name. That way, when we're sorting through, we're not looking at all the Nationals single A, then the Nationals double A. We're going to be able to group them by the division as opposed to by the actual team name. So that's just a little helpful tip for you. So now that we've gone through and done the data filtering and made sure all of our data is correct and we've got consistency across everything, now we're going to go ahead and export our file. This spreadsheet template is not the file that you're going to upload to the data center. This export file button is going to create a text file, and that text file is the one that you're actually going to upload to the data center. So we'll click the export file button. We'll be prompted to save the file. The default is myleague.txt. This is a text file, and just remember the location where you save it. Once you click the save button, the Excel spreadsheet will process, export the file, and then Excel will actually close down. And I should be so now that I've got my file exported, I'm ready to upload it. And so from here we'll go to the upload player registration data back to the data center, and I'll click that link. It's important to make sure that I'm uploading it to the right season, so make sure that the season drop down list is on the one that you want. The file format should be that text file that we exported from the Little League roster spreadsheet. We will click the browse button to go find my file. And then this next drop down list is really important to pay attention to. It's going to ask us if we want to add or replace the data. Typically on the first time around at the beginning of the season, you just want to add data because there should be no data in there for that season. Anytime that you do it after you have any changes, you'll probably want to come in and select replace. This is one reason why I recommend that you keep all the data, the managers, the managers, the coaches, and the rostered players all in one spreadsheet. That way you can just do your export from that one spreadsheet, get your text file, and replace all the existing data with the new data from the one exported file. This prevents from having any duplicates. If you select add and you have the volunteers separate from the players, there's no way to replace just the volunteers, and so if you're going to upload the volunteers. So if you select add, then you'll end up with duplicates roster information, in which we don't want. So again, I highly recommend keeping all your data in a single spreadsheet, all players, all managers, all coaches, all volunteers, and then each time that you come in here, just make sure that you select replace when you're about to upload your exported file. Once you've got that information, you can click the import button. And so I got an error. I did this on purpose. What I did was this box, red box, tells you that it's an error, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of information down here. But down here, the details of the text file, it tells me who the player is. Ian Lopez, and what caused the error. So I've got Ian's address is missing. So that's what threw the error. Now, because there was an error, no other players got imported. If any one record fails, then the whole thing fails. So it doesn't allow you to do that. So let's fix Ian Lopez. We'll actually come in here and we'll just remove Ian from my list. And we'll go back and we'll browse. We'll select the file. And I'm set to replace. And I'll click import. And now we get the green successful. And 15 players and volunteers were imported into my league. So this is what you want to make sure that you see to know that it's successful. You want to pay attention to that number to make sure it's accurate. Again, this number represents everybody who's in the exported file, all managers, coaches, and players. So please note that that number may be higher than your actual registration count if you have a lot of volunteers in the system. Now back on the Manage Rosters page, after we've successfully uploaded, we can use this filtering system to filter out by a specific division and get a list of all the players for that team and just export that one team roster. So we'll go through here and we'll just say the Angels, and we'll do a search players. And in just a second we can scroll down here and it shows me all the player, coach, manager, coach, player. It shows me everybody who's on that team, specifically on that team. It also shows the date that it was uploaded and all their information. If I then wanted to, I could export this back out to Excel and hand it to the manager to confirm with him that this is the roster that we show for him. And if anybody's missing or if anybody is on his team who shouldn't be there, that can all be worked out between the player agent and the manager. But this is just one tool that you have at your availability to use to make sure you have rosters properly. If I click on View Upload Roster, View Upload History, this is going to show me a list of all the completed and failed attempts that I've done. And again, if you notice, the failed, 16 processed, 15 successful, 1 failed. But again, on failed attempts, no data gets imported at all. Only on successful completed attempts does the data actually go through. So to review, if later on down the road I've got some player movement, maybe I've got a player who left, moved away, so I want to take him out of the system. If I remove him from my Excel spreadsheet, click the export button to create the new text file, and then come back here to the data center, and I want to upload for 2016 text file, and I'll browse for my file. And if I set this to add, it's going to create duplicates with the exception of the one player who I took out. So we'll click import here, and I got the successful message again. And now we'll go back to Manage Rosters menu, and I'll view my upload history, and we see 5 processed, 5 succeeded. So now back on the main menu of the Managing Rosters, this drop-down list is going to allow me to filter, again as a double check to make sure what I've had entered. So I've got the season, the league, my league, the division that I'm looking for, and then the team name, the Angels. All these are pre-populated for the data. And then if I scroll down, because I uploaded it twice and selected add instead of replace, I have duplicates information for everybody, for the coaches, for the managers, for the players, which is not what we want to do. So I should have selected replace. So if I go back into the upload and I browse for my file, And this time I click replace and then import. I get that we're successful. And if I come through here and I select my filter data and click search, it'll go through the database and it'll return everybody that I have. And now we can see that I only have a single listing, which is what we want. So that concludes this training video on uploading player, coach, and manager data to the data center. Remember that this needs to be done within 2 weeks of the start of the season, and it also should be updated regularly every time that you have a player movement from one team to another, from one division to another, an addition of a player, a replacement of a player who leaves the program. And again, it's also recommended that you keep all the volunteer player data in one spreadsheet and make sure you replace data as you go as opposed to add. Thank you. I hope this video has been informative.